In this video, we're going to talk about the Virginia Adult ESOL Content Standards. The Virginia Adult ESOL Content Standards spell out what adult ESOL students in Virginia are expected to learn in each proficiency level in all 4 language skills. These standards provide the basis for what teachers teach and a criteria for assessment in terms of language skills. By matching what is taught in the classroom to the standards in each skill area, students and teachers know what teachers should be teaching, what students should be learning, and what they will be assessed or tested on. State ESOL standards have also standardized the leveling of classes so that performance of a high intermediate student in Fairfax should be comparable to the performance of a high intermediate student down in Roanoke or Charlottesville or anywhere else in Virginia. The Virginia Adult ESOL Content Standards are organized by levels of proficiency described by the National Reporting System, or the NRS. These levels are further organized by language skills. Within each language skill, benchmarks and progress indicators describe what a learner should know and be able to do in order to exit to the next level. So they are exit standards. To help you better link these standards with your instructional practice, teacher resources for implementing the standards are also provided at each proficiency level and skill. These include suggestions for classroom activities and examples of student performance for each progress indicator. All these standards are available on the Valric website or on the Adult ESOL Wiki. The standards were also developed by practitioners in Virginia, many of which were our colleagues here in Northern Virginia. Let's first go over the layout of the document. All levels have the same format. At the top here you see the standard. This one is for speaking. The standard is what a student should be able to do to no longer be considered an English language learner. Below it you have the benchmarks, which is what a student at a particular proficiency level should be able to do to move to the next proficiency level and ultimately towards the standard. Here it says it's benchmark S4.1. This means speaking, low intermediate, and point 1 is the first benchmark. Underneath we have the progress indicators. These are what students should be able to do to demonstrate meeting the benchmark. Over here we have examples. The examples are a real-world application or language example of the indicator. Down at the bottom are activity ideas. These are instructional activities that teachers can implement to allow students to practice and demonstrate their progress towards meeting the benchmarks. So what do all these components mean for instruction and assessment? With benchmarks, teachers can plan lessons and activities to meet the benchmarks, and you can think of them as steps to go up a ladder or a staircase to meet the standard. The progress indicators tell you what to teach in terms of language, and the examples provide a context for that language. So they're giving you the context that you can teach in. They're also providing level-appropriate language examples so you know what students at your level should be able to produce. The activities, again, provide instructional activities that teachers can use to plan their lessons. So the activities are telling you how to teach, and the progress indicators are more telling you what to teach. So let's look at assessment, which is the second column. The benchmarks are basically helping you with end-of-term assessment. They're providing a criteria for assessing whether or not a student needs to be promoted or retained. The progress indicators are providing a criteria for assessment at the lesson level, so more of an everyday kind of thing. The examples help you know what kind of language you should expect from a particular level so you can assess them appropriately. And the activities, again, just provide guidance on a level-appropriate activity that can be assessed. So altogether, the content standards provide for alignment and cohesion within your own instruction and assessment, as well as alignment of what is taught and assessed at different levels within the program. Okay, so let's take a look at a standard that's already filled out. And let's, to provide a context, let's imagine that I am in the work unit in Ventures 2, so I'm teaching low intermediate. One of the unit goals is to describe past activities. So one of the activities that I want to plan to practice this is to have my students discuss what they did over the weekend. So because the goal of the activity is speaking, I'm looking at the speaking standard. The first benchmark is to converse on familiar topics, primarily related to self and community, and this seems pretty relevant to my activity. So I look down at the progress indicators, and I see initiate a conversation or generate dialogues describing a person, place, or event. I'm going to look over here at the examples to see what might be closest to my activity. And I see discuss the weather with a coworker, which might be similar to discussing what they did over the weekend. Or here, there's an example of what they did over the weekend, similar activity. However, since I didn't really go over a lot of this language, I think for the purposes of my activity and what I want to assess, I'm going to just look at indicator A. Now you might choose something different. So now that I have my benchmark and indicator, I'm going to go down to the activity ideas. And looking through those, I think that a role play or maybe even a mingle activity would work best. So that's what I will plan. Since I want this to be a more free-flowing conversation, I think I will just evaluate the students on indicator A. Initiating the conversation, I will use a mingle activity. Okay, so now we're going to wrap up this video. We took a look, or we had an introduction to the content standards, why we have them, and what they are. We looked at the layout. We talked about what they mean for instruction and assessment, and went through a brief example of how to use them. I also want to remind you that they are available on the Adult ESOL Wiki. The my.pbworks.com is how you can get there, and then you log in with your email and password. You can also find them on the Valric website under Resources and Content Standards. So both of the URLs are listed here. Thank you for listening.